Hello and welcome to our video lecture about sports in the 1930s. During this time, sports were rising and became a big part of the lives of Americans. The most popular sports were baseball and boxing. However, amateur sports were much more popular than professional sports. The rise of the radio also provided live broadcasts of sports to Americans across the country. And lastly, black athletes began to be recognized for their outstanding skill in their sports.
In the 1930s, the radio was rising, which accumulated in the rising of boxing. The most prestigious award in boxing was the heavyweight champion. Being the heavyweight champion made you the most popular athlete, kind of like a Super Bowl MVP today. Joe Louis was an incredibly successful American boxer, and his fights with German Max Schmeling. The radio brought boxing fights instantly to Americans across the country. Americans would tune in to big fights on the radio, kind of like you would turn on a baseball game today. Joe was easily the most dominant fighter at this time, and the radio allowed him to become a very popular athlete.
Another popular sport is baseball. During the 30s, the New York Yankees were the best team as they had 5 World Series titles in the decade alone. Some of the greatest players of all time played for the Yankees during the 30s. Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, and Joe DiMaggio were all on the Yankees. Also, in 1937, Negro Leagues began forming, which provided people with insight on the potential skill of the African Americans as well. And in the Negro Leagues, the Homestead Grays were always the best team. Football was also a very popular sport during the 30s. Just like basketball, college football was by far the most watched and enjoyed form of football. The first NFL college draft was also during the 30s in 1936. Before this time, players would pick what team that they would play for. Sammy Baugh was an incredibly popular college quarterback who, when became drafted, became the first NFL quarterback to regularly use the forward pass, which is now the most used play in modern-day football.
Also in the 1930s, a new sport was on the rise. That new sport was basketball. College basketball was the dominant basketball league on the scene at the time. But the NBA, then known as the American Basketball League, was also up and coming. New innovations and rules were being made every day. The first collegiate tournament was held in Kansas City. That 18 tournament has evolved into a 64-team bracket known as March Madness.
In 1932, there was both a Summer and a Winter Olympics. The Summer Olympics were the more popular, with 37 teams coming to compete, while the Winter Olympics only had 17. Both of these Olympics in 1932 were held in the United States. The Summer Olympics were held in Los Angeles, California, and the Winter Olympics were held in Lake Placid, New York. In the Summer Olympics, the Americans completely dominated. They had 103 total medals, 41 gold, 32 silver, and 30 bronze, which is unheard of for the present day. The next closest country in total medals was Italy, who had 32. And the Winter Olympics were not as popular during this time. However, the U.S. did lead in medals once again with 12, followed closely by Norway with 10.
In the 1930s, black athletes were beginning to be seen for their athletic abilities. Black athletes excelled in sports such as track and field and football. Negro League baseball was on many levels equal to white majors, and players from both leagues, including Dizzy Dean and Satchel Paige, occasionally barnstormed together.
Thank you for watching our presentation about sports in the 1930s, and we hope that you've learned something new.